Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to what was once Gartshore's garage. Still theoretically is. It's been about a year and a half since we've had any content whatsoever. Bit of a disgrace. I know, I'm terribly sorry about that. That's simply, well, Mr. and Mrs. Gartshore had a baby, and that kind of threw things out of order a little bit. The music channel's been still going rather fine, but the poor old Gartshore's Garage channel has had to take a back seat for a little while. But here we are, we're back, and we're going to start with an update. Basically an update. Where did we leave off? Well, the last things, this was back in, was it October 22? I think that's about right. You know, it's so long ago, I honestly can't remember. I think it was October 22. We just bought a new car. And I'm not going to tell you about it today either. It's coming soon though, don't worry. This old chap, this is our flying chicken, the legendary Skoda Kodiaq that we leased back in 2019. Now this was going to be my company car. I'm a freelancer, and there was a wonderful deal at the time. We were able to pick this car up for about 300 bucks a month. Not bad at all. And at the end of the lease, this is where things got really kind of cool. At the end of the lease, you have the usual options. You return the car, get yourself a new one, or you maybe hold on to it. Well, it turns out that the leasing deal I had on this was still an old-fashioned leasing deal, which means I had the option to buy the car out of the lease. And here's the crazy thing. The Volkswagen Bank, that's Skoda, belongs to the Volkswagen Group. Volkswagen, I'm going to say that because I live in Germany, so I'm going to use the proper pronunciation. The car back in 2019 had a predefined end of lease value. Now at the time, of course, everyone thought, good God, the car will never be worth that in 3 years' time. However, pandemics and nonsense around the world happened, and guess what? At the end of 3 years, that value that the Volkswagen Bank agreed for this car was way under what it was actually worth. So, thank you for cutting the corner, my friend. So we rather cleverly decided that we would hold on to the car. Now, obviously we couldn't afford the price they wanted for it. They wanted well over 30K for it, which of course it is actually worth, but we don't have that kind of money lying around. So we spoke to the Volkswagen Bank and we actually bought the car on a hire purchase deal. So got basically a car loan, and we're paying it off over the next 3 years. But it's one of those things with a balloon payment at the end. So here's the crazy thing. I've been monitoring used car prices since that day. They keep going up. They keep going up and up and up. It's crazy. This car is worth far too much, basically. That's the simple thing. So, fingers crossed, if we hold on to it and look after it, we might actually, well, we're not going to make any money, but we're certainly not going to lose huge amounts of money on depreciation like you normally would in the used car market. This is wonderful. So this turned out to be a really good deal. And we're actually paying less now for the loan than we were for the leasing. So we're paying about 280 bucks a month now for this car. And we're piling the miles on it, obviously, because it's now mine, theoretically. I'm not worried about mileage. So we're piling the miles on, and obviously it will continue to get serviced, main dealer serviced and things like that. However, I am going to do some of the work on it myself. For example, it needs a new set of brakes. Now I called up the local Skoda garage and said, hello, how much for a new set of brakes? All round the car, new discs, new pads, everything. They quoted me 900 and something euros to get that done. To get the brakes done, new discs, new pads, I can do that in a couple of hours myself. Cost under 300 euros. And we're talking original parts as well. How do I know? Because I've already got all the parts. So that's a job we're going to be doing soon. So I'll take you on that little journey with me. Actually, let's go this way. We'll go a different way today. I'm driving through a sunny Westerwald today. It's the beginning of February 2024. The sun is shining. I'm using my new GoPro, hoping that it works. Oh, I'm driving this way. There's a new quarry next to me. I haven't seen that yet. That's rather exciting. Anyway, so there you are. So there's the Skoda. So it's due a main dealer service. So it's going to get its oils, its filters, all that stuff changed. I'll get the basic stuff done at the main dealership. Obviously, the car will hold its value better in the resale market if we have the main dealer servicing all the time, and Skoda servicing prices are fairly sensible. It's quite amusing, actually, when you think about it. It's the same engine that you would find in a lot of Volkswagens. It's the same engine that you will even find in some Audis and things like that. But the servicing price is completely different. It's hilarious. Anyway, so this is this car. It's been a wonderful deal. It's been incredibly reliable. We've loved it. It's huge. It's, you know, there's more room in this car than in a lot of cars that are theoretically bigger, and I'll tell you about that when I tell you about the other one. So it's been great, you know, for carting babies around in baby chairs and cots and things like that, and all the paraphernalia you need to go with babies. This really is the perfect family vehicle. It's economical. It's the 2-litre diesel, turbo diesel with 150 horsepower or 150 PS. If we're going to do it in German, and I don't know, it's got some torque. It's the 7-speed DSG gearbox. I think that's due an oil change coming up soon as well, but that's going to be something I will leave to the main dealer. It's a manual, not a manual, sorry, it's a transmission oil change. So how does that work? You take the old oil out and put the correct amount of new oil in, and it's one of those crazy things where you have to warm the gearbox up to a certain temperature and check the level at the end. Simple, but because it's still a relatively new car, I'm not going to do that myself. I will leave that one up to the main dealer. That'll cost about 300 or 400 extra to the main service that's coming up soon. So that, we'll just have to bite the bullet on that one, but I'd rather get that one done so that there's at least a kind of guarantee on the work. That makes sense, doesn't it? So that's the Skoda. It's still here and we still love it. And it's been amazing. We've now got, hold on, let me tell you, we've got 113,000 kilometers on it now. That's after, well, we got it at the end of 2019. So what's that? That's now, well, we've had the end of 2024. So that's 4 years now. 4 years. Let's call it 115,000 kilometers in 4 years. That's quite a lot, isn't it? That really is quite a lot. Not too much, but, you know, it's a lot. It's been reliable. It's been relatively economical. At some point, I'm going to tell you all the statistics involved because being me and the kind of person I am, I've kept a record of absolutely everything. Well, I have to. It was my company car, my business car. So I've had to keep, I've had to keep tracks on absolutely every expense. So that's kind of handy. I can tell you exactly what it's cost over the years, if you're interested. I certainly am, because these have been business expenses, and I'd like to know exactly how much it was. So I'll be working that out very soon, and we'll keep you up to date on that. Plans for this car are, we'll be taking it to the dealer for its main service. Before that, though, I will be doing the brakes back and front, getting them done. That's a relatively easy job on a car like this. It's not sport brakes, it's not fancy brakes, there's nothing ceramic about it. Nothing fancy, so it's just a very simple, old brakes off, clean everything up, new brakes on, Bob's your uncle. And then we'll take it down to the main dealer for its main service. Now it's still due its 100,000 kilometer service. I've been a bit late on that one, but we were very busy in the last few months and it's been kind of difficult to find a date. But that's okay, we're only a little bit over. So it'll get its oil service, it'll get filter changes. I imagine they'll change the brake fluid. I'm gonna let them do that. It will probably get its gearbox service, which is only due at 120k, but we're getting close to 120k, so I'll maybe just get them to do it while it's in. What else do they do? I suppose they do a diesel filter on it as well. They'll do the fresh, the fresh air cabin filter thing. What else will they do? Just check over the car, make sure it's all right. We've got new tires on it. We have to put some new winter tires on it this season. Winter tires, of course, having slightly softer rubber than summer tires. So we've run through an entire set of winter tires. I will let you into a secret, though. We actually did not, we didn't take the winter tyres off the entire time we had it. So we got the car November 19 with its brand new summer tyres, Continentals, that the car came with. And then we immediately removed them for the winter tyres for the winter season 2019-2020. And they've been on the car ever since. So no wonder they sort of ran down over the years. They've been on the car for basically 4 years non-stop. And winter tyres during the summer time, there's nothing wrong with that, but they're just, you know, they do wear a little bit faster. So this year we're going to go back to the original summer tyres in the summer season. Our nice, still brand new Contis. Okay, they're 4 years old, but they've seen about 100 kilometers in their entire life. So they're going back on. And then, of course, next year, I might consider actually getting a new set of rims for the winter tyres, because at the moment, we just change the tyres over. Anyway, so that's this car. I think that's pretty much everything. Have there been any faults with it over the years? No, not one. Not a single one. Everything has been absolutely perfect. Literally. Not a problem. Reliable. Perfect. Fingers crossed. I shouldn't have said that. Touch wood. Yeah, so that's that one. Now, the other car that we got years ago, we got it for Vanessa, from Mrs. G. Well, that's actually not true. The plan was we got it for her to run off to university with. She's currently studying. She changed her career path 7 years ago and decided she would go back to university to study to become a teacher. So she was going to be running up and down to the university all the time, and we thought, well, maybe not in this. It's big for parking spaces at the university. Yeah, and the way other people treat cars there, well, yeah, so we wanted something cheap as chips. So we bought the old Audi A2. Remember that? That's become a very popular car on YouTube these days. And I think actually we were pretty much the first to get one all those years ago. When did we get the Audi A2? Was that 2019 as well, or was it even 2018? I can't remember. That's how long ago it was. That was very dramatic, wasn't it? Anyway, so we got the A2, and it too has been reasonably reliable over the time. Now, it hasn't been on the road that much over the last few years, just quite simply because it's in really good condition, and the values of those cars are going up. Now, they're not going to, they're not going to be worth what, wonderful cars are worth, but we paid just over $2,000 for it when we bought it a few years ago, and current values would say it's worth about $4,000 now, so that's not bad. So we've kind of doubled our money on that one. Who'd have thought? What have we done to that car over the years? Gosh, we've done a lot of things to it. It's been serviced regularly. It's had 2 oil changes since we've had it. I think we've covered about 10,000 kilometers since we've had it. Not much at all, really not much. So we've had 2 changes of oil on it. We've changed all the filters. We did all the brakes, brake fluid, obviously. What did we do? Did we do a gearbox service? No, we didn't do a gearbox service. We wanted to. It's the 5-speed manual. They're theoretically robust and sealed for life, but it's always a good idea. It's got oil in it, so change the oil. So we'll still do that, I think. I've still got everything for that service, as far as I remember. So we might as well get that done. That'll be a very messy, but a fun little job to do. What else did we do? We changed the spark leads on it. The ignition leads were making some funny noises. And I also removed the throttle body and the EGR valve. Yes, those primitive EGR valves that those old 1.4 injection engines from Volkswagen had. It's a very primitive little thing, and they just block up over the years. So I replaced that, cleaned out the throttle body, and since then it's running perfectly. It's running very smoothly, very economically, yeah, we use it as a sort of little run around from time to time. It's a cute, economical little car, but we're not using it too much because it's being very stable in value, and we don't want anything to happen to it. What does it need? Well, it needs a freshen up for the new year. All of the cars involved need a deep clean, and that's definitely something we're going to be showing on the channel. I've got all sorts of cleaning products at home. This is weird. Sunshine at this time of year is wonderful. One of the first sunny days of this year so far. Lovely. So the little Audi will get a refresh. We'll give it another service because it hasn't really been driven very much at all. Just refresh the oil again. You can't really do too many oil changes on a car. You might as well just keep the oil, as fresh as possible. It doesn't use very much oil anyway, so it's very, very cheap to do. Give it a new cabin filter because it's probably clogged up from sitting outside in the rain, the damp and all that. Yeah, so that'll get done. And then there's the mystery car. Back in 2022, Mrs. G and I decided that the Gartshore's Garage channel, this little channel we're talking about here, we wanted to promote it. We wanted to do more on it. And me tinkering around on cars seemed to be the popular videos up to that point. So we thought, why not get a car that we can tinker around on permanently? Let's buy an unreliable car that needs constant tinkering. So we had a look at what's around. What would I like? It has to be something we like as well, or something I like. So we had a good look around and we found something. Now, as it turns out, this is typical. This is typical. As it turns out, the car I bought at the time wasn't a popular car on YouTube at all. Hardly anyone had one. Now, however, everybody's got one. So as usual, I was the first to the party, but then didn't do anything. I just sat in the kitchen and, didn't do anything. While everyone else was out there having a whale of a time, I did nothing. Stupid, I know, but hey, that's life. Story of my life, basically. I'm in the right place at the right time, and then I just basically ignore it. Ooh, tunnel. I hope the camera is picking up. Are we going to get out of the tunnel by the time that light changes to red? Yes, we are. Perfect. So we bought this car. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. You can still guess in the comments below. And we bought it, and there's a litany of things that needed doing to it. And we've done one of those things, basically because it was making such a mess of the driveway by hemorrhaging oil everywhere. We kind of had to do that job. But worry not, I videoed every step of that job. And it will be featured on the channel here. It was a messy job, a very messy car. It was not an expensive job at all. It would have been if I'd taken it to a dealer or just your local friendly mechanic. It would have been very expensive to get it done because you have to tear half the engine apart to replace this part that's making a mess. And of course, there's a lot of while you're in there kind of jobs you can do. So I did all of that. It's documented, so it will be coming to the channel at some point. And then since then, apart from one oil change and some filter changes, it's been reliable. So the car we bought to tinker on has not required any tinkering. However, it's due its TÜV test, which is coming up soon. Actually, it's overdue now. It's due its TÜV test, its MOT test, and for that it will need the brakes doing. The brakes are remarkably squeaky. I suspect one of the rear calipers, if not both, is or are sticking, which is not much fun. And they're going to need either replacing or refurbishment or both. But while the brakes are off, it's obviously going to get new discs and pads all round. That's going to get done. Now, some of the suspension joints. Now, the car itself is 12 years old now, and I don't know how much of the suspension has been replaced in those 12 years. Some of the suspension joints are definitely going to need replacing. Definitely going to need replacing, and it's not a difficult job, but it's just an awkward job. I don't have access to a lift. I don't have access to a pit, so I'm going to have to do as much of it as possible on my driveway, or I'm going to have to see if I can rent a lift somewhere close by and get that done there. Then of course the whole thing's going to need a complete alignment check, but that's fine, that's easy peasy. Let me see, what did we do? Oh yes, we put 4 new tires on it at the beginning. The tires that were on it were very old, very hard, and the ride quality was disgraceful, so I put 4 new tires on it pretty much after we got it. Ride has been absolutely perfect. Has it been reliable? No. I know I just said it has, but because we don't drive it very much, it's one of those cars that's so full of electronic gizmos. The battery the battery just needs constant trickle charging. And if you forget to do that, then the battery level gets low, and then all the little computers inside the car go, "Way, party!" And things stop working, and you get error messages, and all the fun and games. Nobody knows how to use a roundabout in this part of the world. Hilarious. So from time to time, are you going to see me? Yes. From time to time, there's an awful lot of, silly little errors, but basically only little electronic things. You clear them, you drive the car for a bit, they stay away. So, there's no actual errors on the car. That's not true. There's one. There's one error. I'm still not going to tell you what the car is, but it's a known error that all these cars have at a certain age, at a certain mileage. It's just a sensor that stops working. And it can stop working in the closed position, it can stop working in the open position. If it stops working in the closed position, good luck, because it needs immediate changing, because you're just basically going to be burning fuel for no reason whatsoever. If, however, it stops working in the open position, which mine has, it means the car thinks it's running too hot all the time, basically. And it compensates, and it's annoying, but it's not too desperate. It uses a little more fuel than it should use, but it's not as catastrophic as if it stopped working in the closed position, because then it thinks the engine is still cold, and it will still try, it thinks it has to heat the engine all the time and use more fuel than it needs to. Something like that. I'm not terribly sure exactly what it is, but it needs changing. Sounds easy enough? It is easy enough. You unplug the sensor, you unscrew the sensor, you screw a new sensor in, plug in the new sensor, clear the error code, you're done. Sounds easy? It's not. You have about that much space to get to the sensor. Now, thankfully, I do not have huge hands. So I've tried, and I can just about get into it with my hand, which means if I can get a tool in there to crack it open, then I should be able to wind it out by hand, theoretically. We're going to have to see on that one. So on that car, there's quite a lot of video content coming up, because it's good. And like I say, well, we're going to have the brakes. We're going to have the oil leak thing that I did. That's a 2 or even 3-part video, because it's so annoying. And there were little things that we changed a bit of, we changed some cosmetic stuff as well. That's all been filmed already. That's all been taken care of. But the brakes will need doing, some suspension work will need doing. What else is going to? That sensor will need doing. And then, as we move on, there will be more things that need doing. But that's a car. That's also a car that, believe it or not, is not going to lose value. Now, it's 12 years old, and I didn't actually pay. I took out a loan for that as well. I'm so mad, I know. I took out a loan for that car as well. So by the end of it, by the time I've paid the loan and the interest, it's worth a certain amount. But current values would suggest that, it's not losing any value. So I'm not, again, I'm not losing any money by having that car. That's a good thing. Tax is quite expensive on it because it's an older diesel. But insurance is remarkably cheap on it. Now, I'm a 51-year-old married male with God knows how much no claims bonus on my insurance. And when I got the car, I called up my insurance company and said, here's the situation. I've got this one as a company car. I've got this one as a private car. I've got this much no claims bonus. You tell me how I should insure it. How should we use the no claims? Which should be the first car? Which should be the second car? You tell me what's the best way of doing it. My insurance company came up with a quote, and it was good. It was really good. So I just stuck with them, and I have my cars insured there. The Audi is insured in Vanessa's name. It's her car. So she's building up her insurance, no claims on that one. No worries at all. So apart from the tax, which is quite pricey, and fuel economy, which is hilarious, that car has been great fun to own. And I'm very much looking forward to getting the first videos recorded with it so I can introduce you to it. But like I say, it's not an unknown entity here on the YouTube automotive world. It's just I'm a little late to the party. Although theoretically, I was pretty much the first to go and get one. Oh boy, that's life. So there you have it. There's a little update to what's been going on in Gartshore's garage. At least the fleet update of what's been going on. Now, what's going to happen with Gartshore's garage? I'm going to start creating more content here, and we want the channel to grow. And I want to hear from you. What do you want to see on the channel? Someone once coined me the world's poshest mechanic, which I think was quite funny. We're not going to go into family history, but that's theoretically true. but let's leave it at that. So yes, the world's poshest mechanic. So I'm going to be tinkering on cars. So there's going to be plenty tinker content coming up. I will be out testing cars. Now, in the next little while, I'm going to be out and about, traveling around a place, traveling around a little bit. So I'm thinking to rent a car rather than, you know, pile miles on my own car. And so I'm thinking of renting something interesting, so that could be presented to the channel. So we're going to do some more car reviews. I did once review that Kia electric thing. What was it? What did it call it? Niro, is that it? That Kia thing. That was my first electric car. Since then, I have driven another electric car. I had, for a very short time, a Tesla to play with. A Tesla Model 3 standard range. I didn't like it. At some point, I'm hoping that the channel will get to the sort of levels that I might be lent a car to test, you know, sort of a long or medium term test. I would love to be testing all sorts of cars, because press that cars get at the moment, it's very sort of polarized. I'm not going to get into that too much. Of course, I have my views and my opinions, and I will share them with you as and when. Ooh, let's not drive too fast here, my friend. Bit of a traffic jam. Oh, he caught it. That's fine. So yes, there are all sorts of polarized views about the world of cars in modern society. So yeah, we're not going to get into these discussions here. It's very, very polarizing, and I don't want to get into trouble. Or do I? I'm not politically correct. I've never been politically correct. I never will be politically correct. So let's find out. So anyway, so there's going to be some of that kind of chat and content on the channel as well, where we look into, you know, where we look into the role of cars in modern society, and do we need them? The fact that manufacturers are still producing cars would suggest that yes, we do need them, and the fact that you're allowed to buy whatever car you want would also suggest that there's no change imminent. You can go and buy a 700 horsepower, I don't know, let's say Ferrari, Lamborghini, even Audis with 700 horsepower, you know, or you can buy a 75 horsepower, you know, cheap and cheerful car. You can buy whatever you want, and until they stop us doing that, then it's, you know, there's obviously not going to be a problem with cars in society. So let's leave it at that. How many cars should a person have? Pooh, also a good question. I've got 3 cars sitting at home. We're a 2-person family. Well, we're a 3-person family, but our baby's not even 1 year old yet. So, you know, do we need 3 cars? Of course we don't. Do we want to have 3 cars? Yes. Do we want more? Oh, yes. I would love to have a collection of cars. If you're into cars, then, you know, the way I see it is you can only drive 1 car at a time. I'm only actually behind the wheel of 1 car at any time. So does it actually matter? No, it doesn't. I'm not going to get into this one today in this video. It's already a very long video, my little update, but I'm just letting you know what's coming, what the Gartshore's Garage channel is going to be up to. So I hope you have enjoyed my little ramble, my little drive around the beautiful scenic countryside of the German Westerwald, which is where we live. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget, help us out, give the video a thumbs up. It lets YouTube know we're still there. Help us by subscribing to the channel as well, so that you know when new content is coming. There will be quite a lot of new content coming over the next little while. I plan to put out 1 video a week for the next little while, and if things are becoming popular and if I can keep on top of it, we might even increase that. We shall see. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you very soon. Have a wonderful day, week, month, year, and we'll see you very soon. Until then, bye-bye.